Today I'm going to let you in on a little secret, something that I've realized over the years, and of course I'm not the wisest person out there. I've made a lot of mistakes, but with mistakes comes progress, and with progress comes growth and understanding. This one key, this one little thing that I'm about to teach you, about to hand you this secret that I have, changed my entire life, changed the way that I respond to every situation, changed the course of my life, saved my marriage, completely changed the business, the way I handle things. This one secret, this one thing, it's so simple. And it's looking at two facets of the human psyche. And basically, most people will react to a situation, and there are some that respond. So we have reacting and we have responding. Now, what is reacting? Reacting is getting news or information from somebody or somehow, internet, social media, wife, spouse, husband, brother, sister, whoever it is, coworker, and they say, hey, Gabe, by the way, we've got $6,000 in fraud charges that came through in the last 3 days. Sorry, had to give all the money back and we lost all the product. There was a time early in the business when I would freak out. My heart would race, I'd feel my blood pressure rise, I'd get really stressed out. And I mean, $6,000 may not be a lot to some people, but to me, when you're a sole business owner and you're running a very small business, that's a lot of money. And that's money that was probably spent doing payouts, and that was money that was probably spent putting food on the table, or we had anticipating putting food on the table or paying the mortgage. And I would freak out. And I would be stressed out all day. My whole day would be ruined. This stuff happens not just with business. I mean, this happens with an argument with your girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, spouse, whoever, whatever. This happens when the boss tells you got to stay late at work. This happens on the road every day, on the way to work with road rage. People react, they get pissed off and the blood pressure rises and these physiological symptoms manifest. So we're actually looking at increased heart rates. We're looking at stress levels, cortisol being released. We're looking at blood pressure rising. And what this does is this basically shuts down the frontal cortex of your brain, so you're not able to effectively make decisions. You're not able to problem solve. The frontal cortex is where all the problem solving happens. That's the part of your brain that takes problems, analyzes them, and comes up with solutions for you. And when you're in this drain, I'm going to call it the drain, when you're swirling the drain, when you're circling the drain of bad news and you are reacting to it, it creates all sorts of different chains of events. And some of them can be extremely negative and detrimental, especially to your health. And so what happens is it causes this chain reaction. You can't think straight because you're stressed out, your blood pressure rises, you start making bad decisions, you start tripping over yourself. Maybe one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing, and you're like a magnet for everything bad that happens that day. And to top it off, when you go home, you kick the dog or you do whatever, you yell at the wife yells at the kid kicks the dog. That's what I'm getting at. And the dog chases the cat. And it's just this big shit show that happens. Now, the key, the answer to all this is to, instead of react to every situation, respond. We're not wild animals that react to everything. We can logically think things through. And so if we get information like, hey Gabe, there were $6,000 in fraud charges in the last couple days. Okay, so me looking at that goes, all right, what do I have to do? Instead of freaking out, blood pressure rising, heart racing, going, how am I gonna fucking pay the bills? How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna put gas in the car? Oh my God, I gotta pay this employee, that employee. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I go, okay, there's always a way. If I gotta borrow money, I can borrow money, or we'll run some extra ads, or we'll reallocate this over here to run some ads and hopefully get some more revenue. But in the meantime, I've got fraud charges. So what do? I need to think about this. Okay, let this be a learning experience. How do I prevent this in the future? So I start looking up solutions for fraud. And I start calling people and asking my friends and my network connections and like, hey guys, how do you deal with fraud? How do you deal with fraud? How do you deal with fraud? And then we put this fraud prevention in place so it doesn't happen again. So that's solved. It's part of business. And I realize, okay, everything we do, there's gonna be hurdles and bumps, and there's gonna be growing pains. And you have to get through them, and they never end. Especially with business, it never ends. It's just one thing after another. And the question is, will you learn to deal with it? Or will you always be high stress, high strung? And those of us that learn to deal with it and learn to respond instead of react have incredibly successful businesses. And that translates down into life. And for those of you that don't own your own business, this applies everywhere else. If you can respond and think about a situation where, let's say you're coming home and girlfriend or boyfriend, husband, wife says something to you. The second you walk in the door, that is bad news, and you react. Oh shit, you're right, this is crazy, what am I gonna do? I'm not even hungry anymore, I don't wanna eat. Forget it, you know what, I'm not even going to the gym. Or you go to the gym and you're so stressed out that you can't even have a good workout. Instead of that, what if? What if you changed the way that you looked at it? And you said, okay, that's bad news. Typically what people call bad news. I gotta think differently. Last time I reacted, this time I'm gonna think about it. I'm not gonna let my blood pressure rise. I'm not gonna let my heart rate go up, even though I feel it starting. Take a couple of deep breaths. I'm gonna think for a second. And usually I say, all right, let me think about that. Give me the night to sleep on it. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Because it's gonna be there tomorrow. That problem isn't gonna go away until you deal with it. It's just how you deal with it that matters. So think about it. How can you handle it? How can you handle it differently than you have in the past? What are your options? Because there's always a way. If there wasn't a way, you wouldn't hear these stories about homeless people starting businesses, becoming millionaires, becoming super successful, and now they're all over social media as influencers and teaching people to do what they did. There is always a way. We're in the internet age. There's so much information available to us. There's always a way to problem solve. And of course now, we're talking about finances and household stuff, but when it comes to arguments, this is one of the biggest things that people encounter is relationship arguments. And it's usually over stupid shit. The dumbest stuff, like, oh, you left this spoon out, can't you do your own dishes? Or hey, it's your turn to give the dog water. I don't got time, I gotta go to work. Well, I'm always giving the dog the food or the water. How do you problem solve that? Try something different every time. Try something new. Be a scientist. This is what I do. I observe, I watch for patterns, I write things down, I journal stuff. Okay, this happened last time I tried this. Oh yeah, I did this last time, or I did this, or I tried this route. And then it all makes sense, and I try something different. If you do the same stuff over and over again, you're gonna get the same results. If you do something different, you're gonna get different results. You can look at it, you can assess the situation. You can move on, you can progress, you can grow. Yeah, it's weird, but keep a journal. Keep a journal of what goes on with you and your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever. It's your private journal, who gives a fuck? Open a fucking notepad on your phone, keep some notes, write the date down. This happened. And don't put your selfish observation down. Put something else down. Put the observation of a neutral party and put words like may. This may have been caused by this, or it appears to have been caused by this. Try writing it down in the third person. That way, you are not using your own emotions to write that down. And you can come back and look at it from a neutral perspective and go, all right, I'm gonna try something different. What did I do last time? I said this. That didn't work because that word's a trigger. There's so many different options, but the idea is to respond. Calmly respond. If it doesn't go your way, no big deal. Try again. How many times do we try when we fail? As many as it takes until we get it right. We never quit. We never give up. We never stop. We just have to keep trying and trying different stuff. So today's lesson, respond, don't react. React is emotion-based. Physiological symptoms, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. You feel your body temperature rise. Your frontal cortex shuts down when you react, but when you respond, that frontal cortex stays open. You can problem solve. You can figure out the situation, you can find a solution. So your challenge this week, take one thing that you react to and write it down. What gets under your skin? What's that repetitive pattern that happens over and over and over again? Write that down. And then the next time it surfaces, you need to respond to that situation. Respond, don't react. One life, one chance. Make it good.